Are you leading with one? Stugotz, the numbers around this show over the last few weeks have exploded because we've never had this concentrated sort of sports interest where things are at the height of crazy.
Right, two teams at once.
Well, but in 25 years, we've never had, Miami does bandwagon well, and the country was actually interested in things going on in South Florida. And so I imagine today the people are here to eat tears because one of the great fun things in sports is to enjoy the misery of people who were loudmouths and lose at the end. And second place isn't what the Heat is about. I would have taken second place at any point in the last 30 years of Panthers. And so what I'm not going to do today, Stugotz, what I'm not going to do today is spend too much time ripping Roy and Chris Cody for spending God knows how much money in Las Vegas to go see what I think might have been the most lopsided ending to a season in the history of that sport. I didn't look at the numbers, but 9-3, that can't be the way a lot of seasons have ended in hockey of glory and wonder. And we'll go to, at some point, Chris Cody and Roy in Vegas just to get them up at an unreasonable hour if they've even gone to sleep.
Right.
But before we get to what it is that I'm assuming America wants from this show today, which is tears, I will just tell you at this point in my life, in my mid-50s, dealing with real hard shit away from here, I am so damn grateful for the last 2 months of crazy distraction that has been sports in this market. And I don't want to soil that with Jimmy Butler, you're a bum. Kachuk, why couldn't you play through the sternum, through the fractured sternum in Game 5 so that it wouldn't end 9-3? I know you want tears here, but it's really hard to get. Only one team in both the sports got to where Miami got, and they both got there at the same time. And they gave us just so much fuel over the last 2 months that I'm super grateful for it.
So you're fine with second place? You're fine with being a runner-up?
Yes.
In both sports?
Yes.
We went through all that, stayed up every night, watched every game. It wasn't every 2 nights off because one team was making a run. It was every damn night because both teams were making a run. And
it was all magical.
Right.
It was all of it was great because I didn't expect any of it. None of it.
I think, I've talked to a couple people, I think most people just feel relief that it's all over, which is kind of crazy because, like, on paper, you're like, oh, my God, in 2 days, our city lost 2 major sports championships. We should be incredibly depressed, and it's just like, thank God I can go back to living my life. Because the problem is, like you were saying with the schedule and it happening at the same time, like, I don't know how anyone could be as invested as they normally would be in either one because it was like one, the other,
or in
one,
life,
the other.
Or in life, Billy.
Oh, my life's been on pause for like 2 months now
Yeah.
because everyone was just expecting it to end at some point, and then it didn't, and then you're like excited. On the flip side, though, could you imagine if we would have won 2 championships in 2 days? Oh, my God.
Would have been
that
great.
would have been an all-time high,
Yeah.
but it didn't happen, and it's just like, oh my God, thank goodness this is over. Now we can go back to paying attention to the Marlins.
We're happy these series were not extended to the 6th game, 7th game, because neither team was going to win, and so it's over. It's I can move on with my summer. Go see dead shows.
Okay, speak for yourself, because Stugotz came in here and just dropped sandwich all over the table and said, and just looked at me while eating, threw crumbs on his face. Vacation mode, Dan. Dead summer. You're happy it's over because you had to work.
Well, you seem happy as well.
I'm grateful that it existed. I am. What did they say about the corny thing about love? Like, I'm happy that I had it, man. I'm not sad that it's gone. I'm happy that I ever had it.
Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened.
No, that's not. The saying is it's better to have loved than lost than to have never loved at all.
Dance like nobody's
Bingo.
watching.
I think he combined 2 cliches.
Yeah.
Don't cry because it's over.
Good
Laugh
attempt.
because Miami lost 2 championships in 2 consecutive nights after being the loudest gas bags this entire postseason over teams that they didn't even believe in to begin with during the regular season.
That's what made it so magical.
Well
That's the
said.
saying.
Yep.
That should be the saying. Jessica is radiant. She is beaming. She brought her dog in. I just saw the dog run by back here after a ball of some sort.
Yeah. My stress ball that I got from the finals. Good riddance, I guess. What's going on here? Are we taking the Means airport experience and bringing it to the show?
2 nights in a row, back-to-back, season-ending, finals-ending losses. We needed a therapy animal in here today.
You thought this would relieve stress.
It relieved everyone's stress except yours because you're the only one that hates dogs
I don't hate dogs. I just don't like strange dogs.
You're afraid of
Amin
dogs.
hates dogs.
You're
His
afraid.
reaction when he noticed there was dogs here today was kind of great. And then he was in like a swivel chair and just kept spinning around, hoping that the dog wouldn't follow him.
Yeah, leave me. Was the dog in
What?
here?
Yeah, the
Oh,
dog
come
is
on,
back
guys.
in here now. No, I mean,
Who hates dogs, man?
Amin came in here and said, "What's with the dogs?" I know a lot of people who hate dogs.
Show's gone to the dogs.
Really?
It's a valid question Amin has. Why is there dogs here? It's pretty
Well,
normal.
no,
Dogs with an S.
With an S. He came in and said, "What's with the dogs?" But I do think he's afraid of dogs. He doesn't trust dogs, and I know a lot of people like this because we dog lovers can love dogs and never be scared of them. But Amin sees an animal that bites and that he doesn't trust, and I'm sure this animal does that.
She doesn't bite. She's never bitten.
Oh, those
So
teeth
you
are
say
just
that,
ornamental.
right.
It's just there for show. At night, she takes them out, puts them in a glass of seltzer water.
They're not dentures.
Then they bite.
She doesn't bite. She's
Okay.
a good girl.
She bites.
This first off, Hildy and Kristen said
It smells like urine
on
in here.
Wednesday.
Not
Yeah,
here.
well,
No, it does smell
that's-
like urine in
that's
here.
Sorry
Stugotz.
about that.
Go.
Yeah.
Go away.
Kristen
No, it
and
really
Hildy
smells
said
like piss in here.
every
I said sorry.
Wednesday
Why is it coming to me? It's what I don't get.
pet
Why is
day
it
at
coming
the
to me?
Elser. They have a pet policy on Wednesdays to bring your dog to work every Wednesday.
That's not a thing. They do?
Kristen and Hildy
They
said
made
it was a
that up.
thing. I trust them and believe in them. They're in charge of the production around here. And they said, bring Willow in, and it'll be a great stress reliever for everyone. We've had a long, stressful spring, all right? We needed a little break. We needed some pep, some happiness in the studio. So I said, okay, I'll bring her in. And then Bambi came in, who's Hildy's sister's dog, who is the cutest little baby.
That
She's
dog bites, for
so
sure.
cute. And so I think everyone's in a good mood because of the dogs, except Amin.
Don't you go home to this dog every night?
Yeah.
What stress relief? What stress relief? You see it every night. It doesn't need you love Lee, right?
Yeah.
The Lee man,
Putting me on the spot.
right?
Lehman.
Lee man is his name.
Putting you on the
L-word,
spot.
yeah.
So it's like, imagine saying, you know what? It's not enough that I see him when I go home. I have to have him at work too.
Oh, it would be nice if Lee came to bring your boyfriend.
A lot nicer. Bring him in instead of this.
This.
To this.
You guys need to come in here and
He's
tell
right.
me it smells like urine in here. I'm not joking. I'm assuming it's not Amin or
It's
Stugotz. It could be Stugotz.
I apologize.
Vacation mode, Dan.
All of those little plush toys that we play with out there in between breaks, that dog has been all over it now.
Yeah, there's
they're
gonna
all
be slobber and
contaminated.
everything.
It's done.
I was
no.
nervous. I knew today was dog day and I was coming in, and I just know, Dan doesn't always
The
react
dog
the
days of
best
summer.
to like different things being thrown at him. You know what I mean? So it's like there's been lots of people here lately. Shows have been stressful. I'm like, I don't know that bringing in a bunch of dogs is a good idea today. But it's gone well. The one thing I will say, so far so good.
Dan was the most.
It only
excited
takes
to see
one
her.
though. It only takes one incident.
I have
for
a
it to not go
pastelito
well.
sitting out there on the counter.
Oh, that's gone.
That's what I'm
You gotta
talking
eat that
about.
quick, yeah. Dan, how do you think about this idea, talking about wasting company resources? Because I came up with a cute idea that I told Hildy and Kristen about yesterday. I thought that they should have made employee IDs for the dogs because they had the printer out yesterday, but they didn't do it.
Sure.
You see?
Yeah, that's fine.
Good idea,
This is what you
Great
don't-
idea, Billy. I'm glad you're working hard on keeping us all afloat and just
Next Wednesday,
finding-
Roma can come in.
I think Billy gets the
Company
most
morale.
joy. No, I think Billy gets the most joy. How can I cost this company
That's minimal.
$4 here and there?
I mean, you guys
like
send
we
thousands of
don't-
dollars
I
to go
know.
to Las Vegas for what?
Okay,
A
well,
blowout?
thank you for bringing that up because here we go. We've got Roy Bellamy joining us live from very early in Vegas. I have gotten no content for this show from Chris Cody and Roy Bellamy. I'm glad we sent both of them and John Reed in a Panther jersey.
Metido en todo.
Todo. And so he can get kicked out of another press box. Game 5, you lose 9-3. I haven't looked at any of the numbers, Roy. Have we had a lot of finals that have ended with that, with somebody getting hit 9-3 and being a loser? You flew out to Vegas to see a historic loss in the end of your season, and you looked like you're hungover.
It's because I am, Dan. There have been 2 instances of the team scoring 9 goals in the Stanley Cup final game before this, so this is the 3rd time. And I got into my room at around 5:30 Eastern this morning, so I'm hurting.
Okay, good
got
coverage.
to the room
Good
at 5:30?
coverage. What were you doing? You were just wandering around on the ice, celebrating with the Vegas players, being around what could have been your dreams. Instead, your dreams dashed and crushed and turned into ice.
That and drinking, yes. Yeah, that's my kind
Yeah.
of
Where were you?
the Cosmopolitan. I had my first Cosmo, which was pretty nice. Came in a nice little fancy glass. Tasted like oranges. Yeah, it was pretty good. I liked it.
So this wasn't all for naught.
No, I wasn't. I had my night saved because of it. So, yeah, I appreciate it.
Where's Chris Cody?
I don't. Oh, you know what happened? He set his alarm for 5:30 p.m. instead of a.m. So he's late.
Of course he did.
Any other content that we can get? Strong content from Vegas. You and Chris were in Vegas, and you were just gambling, and didn't. That's it. That's the coverage we have on this hockey season. That you've been the most exciting hockey season of your life. Correct?
Yes, it's basically the best Panthers team that we've ever seen because they won a game in this Stanley Cup Final Series. So, yeah, but we do have content coming. It involves a wedding chapel. I won't go further into that, but we got content coming.
Congrats.
You guys got married?
Wow.
Well, almost.
Okay,
man.
so there is content coming. I'll believe it when I see it. I've heard such things from the basketball All-Star game that Tony and Amin went to. We do very well with disappearing coverage, so I'll believe it when I see it. So far, I've seen only this. It's not very much.
The lost tapes from Cleveland, man. If anyone could have seen them.
Yeah, they would have been great, I'm sure. Just wasting money right and left. All right, sleep and get home. Congratulations on the greatest hockey season we've ever seen in Panther hockey. 1 win. The most radiant,
Baby steps,
the
Dan.
most radiant person here today is Jessica. She is just. This is Jessica's happiest day at work.
She's got dogs.
I've never seen her this happy here. Like our misery. Look. She is beaming. She is beaming in our faces.
Happy hump day, folks.
You might have heard a bit of a shell-shocked silence from some of the tiers I'm sure that you want the most. If you're in America outside of Miami, and I'm not sure that Miami can really be classified as America. I really do think it needs to be just separate as some seceded thing that is between the Bahamas and everything that's happening in Haiti.
It's not
and
a state, like a
we,
country.
we've tried
like
that
what?
before. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with the story of the Conch Republic?
Love that.
When Key West tried to break off and make its own country, and then they realized, oh, no one's picking up the garbage. I guess we'll just go back.
That is what happened. That's exactly. He's got the history.
You're right.
They have a museum and stuff for it, but that's the history. The history is like, we'll have our own land. Well, no, we won't live by American rules. Hey, who's picking up the trash? All right, never mind. Don't want to do it that way.
2 cities in America that I feel like aren't America: Miami and New Orleans. You're transported to a different world. That includes New York and L.A. and Chicago and all these other international cities. No. Miami and New Orleans are truly, they feel like this isn't the U.S.
It was actually hit on in yesterday's postgame show by Taylor. It's not the first time I've heard that Miami is actually the capital of Latin America. South America, Central America, Miami is actually the capital city.
You mean Taylor Twellman and not Taylor, the Knicks fan who had to eat a shoe.
Well, that's why I referenced the postgame show.
Got it. Well, some people didn't listen to the postgame show.
Amin is upset. Let me explain something.
Very.
Mike, he's lashing out here, and we'll get to your tiers in a second.
They're more familiar with Taylor in our video department than the notion of a postgame show.
He loves the inside shit, man. Amin likes going in deeper
Way
and deeper
inside.
and deeper until he's just amusing legitimately only himself. It's a land that both
I needed the clarification.
It's
too.
despicable.
him and Billy occupy.
What?
They occupy it very well.
I'm a
That's
dog.
unfair.
Making jokes for themselves. That is, it is true what he's saying, but Amin is lashing out in general, and we'll get to Mike Ryan's tiers in a second.
Aqua?
Because I tried to get Mike Ryan's tiers yesterday through tear gas, but there were more TV trucks than people.
Bo?
Out by what it is that was happening with Trump being indicted. So we did not get the tiers yesterday. We will get them shortly. As Stugotz says, I'm just happy it's over. I don't think we've talked enough about the fact that the champion and MVP is also glad that it's over. Yeah. Like, we cannot talk about the single strangest reaction I've ever seen to winning an MVP. As hard as that man has worked, him saying, doesn't everybody hate work? An amazing thing to witness. But Amin is lashing out, Mike, because the first hour of that show, when a lot of people were listening and watching, Amin was trying to get off a joke instead of doing any basketball, any Heat stuff. He had so much information, so much to say. He just wanted to get off his inside Patino joke for an hour, just to make jokes of funny names of funny players who are walking through that door because they are having their season ended, and let's laugh at the team that had its season ended. It's his joke. It's a copyrighted joke. He made it for an hour. Nobody got it.
I delivered a master class because I wasn't just saying random names. Some people are like, oh, why is he just saying names? No, it wasn't random names. The names were correlating with the stuff you guys were talking about, along with the intonations. So when Billy was saying about The Rock and his financial difficulties, I hit the Patino game name at the same intonation. And when you guys were talking about FUBAR and throat slitting, I brought up Eric Murdoch, who famously did a throat slit gesture responding to Chris Child's throat slit gesture in the playoffs in 1998. If you were paying attention, like my friend Pablo Torre was, you would have been blown away with the Westworld levels of the maze that I built. Instead, they're like, I don't get what Amin is doing. Well, why isn't he just telling us about... Oh, God, man, sometimes you mouth breathers. This is the kind of stuff, you know what? My show's audience, coming soon with Charlotte Wilder, we're going to train them. We're going to train them to look for those things, to find those hidden gems, Dan, because everyone can just sit and watch a show. Oh, yeah, like, this happened. But it takes a keen eye to realize all the Easter eggs and the nods and the kind of like nudges that are happening. It's a little bit of a melange of kind of different flavors and textures. And instead, you imbeciles are just like, just give me pizza.
I mean, you forgot one thing, though. Pablo Torre ain't walking through that door.
He was high, Pablo Torre was high.
He always is.
As he often is.
Yeah.
Reckless.
Well, I mean, I'm just telling you that him and Amin were talking about how what he did for an hour, again, was Westworld. That's what he just said.
Season one.
Which season?
Season one. Or season two. Season two. Season
What
two.
you were doing was season 2.
I'll give it season 2.
By the way, I have confirmed through our sources that it's not a bit. Chris Cody is just legitimately not there because he partied way too hard.
I know it's not a bit. I know that none of this is a bit. Roy's still there.
It's incredibly unprofessional.
But okay.
Yeah. Why is Roy still there?
Because he's incredibly professional. Because he's a professional.
That's incredible professionalism, what you guys are witnessing. Roy, what other thoughts do you have from a Vegas hotel room? You've been, you want to go to sleep. You've been up all night. The Panther season ended in an unholy disaster. Please make it worth our money here that you went to Vegas. Go.
Well, they were hurt. I mean, 4 of the players on the team have broken bones, and 2 of them played on it. Aaron Ekblad had a broken foot in the Boston series. He had a concussion throughout the playoffs. Like, he was legitimately hurt, and Chris Cody has just entered the room. And of course, Radko Gudas is hurt. Etu Lostarainen, he has a chipped kneecap. He can play, and Chris Cody's just falling on the couch.
Roy, Kachuk, I read, has a fractured sternum.
Yes, fractured sternum. He played with it in game 4.
Seems like not a good
Vegas,
idea.
have shorter hallways.
What?
Vegas needs shorter hallways. Can we all agree on that?
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Hey, Vegas, have shorter hallways.
He's right about that.
Can we all agree on that? Roy, you were interrupted by a partying Chris Cody wearing sunglasses. You look like Daytona. Roy, please.
I didn't brush my teeth.
Does he smell bad? Oh no!
I woke up at 6:05 in a panic.
Okay,
like I'm late.
Roy, tell me about the smells coming out of Chris Cody's face.
You guys look like a Twitter fight.
He smells like a hockey locker room right now.
Oh,
it's bad.
Chris, did you have a Cosmopolitan last night also, or?
The irony of all this is that I actually left where I was partying. I could have partied last night with the Vegas Knights at Caesar's at Caesar's Palace.
Right.
And I went home to go to sleep so I could be here on time.
I've smelled that breath
What a
on occasion.
Stupid decision. Why would you do that?
Yeah,
It's
real.
horrible. I mean,
it's bad breath. It's a big man's bad breath.
I smell it.
And a big man's bad breath is worse than the average bad breath. Roy's already hungover.
I feel so bad for Roy right now.
Roy, okay, let's do this. Roy, this is what I would like to do.
let's go brush our teeth.
No, I want to get value out of this commentary. What I would like, Chris Cody, is for you to consistently blow in Roy's face as Roy.
Death penalty.
Listen, from the side, as Roy tries to get through it with commentary about the final game of the season. Go ahead, Roy. Encapsulate the season here from Vegas. Close it out for us.
Well, none of us expect.
I feel so bad for him.
Roy, power through it, please. Roy, power through it, please.
Well, none of us expected the Panthers to make playoffs. Obviously, none of us expected the Panthers to beat the Bruins. None of us expected the Panthers to beat the Maple Leafs or the Hurricanes.
At least you got on the ice, though.
But at least I got on the ice. Yeah, they beat 3 of the best 5 teams in the league this year. Just can't get past the 4th one.
What a time. Have we gotten emotional yet? Can we all just hug for these last couple weeks?
Yes, they've been wonderful weeks, but here's some emotion for you. Paul Maurice, the Panthers coach, Stugotz. I was surprised by this a little bit. Perhaps I shouldn't have been.
Thank you for telling me who the coach is.
Yeah, you're welcome. We've got a lot of new followers in this realm.
I needed that one too.
Tony is also grateful. But Mike and Roy and Chris can tell you about his personality a little bit as he's loosened up in the playoffs and done a little more with the press conference and stuff. He's like maximum professional guy, and I'm not going to say he's a robot, but when I heard these words come from him where he paused for a second to summon the answer on how special this thing was. And this is a man who loves hockey, has been around hockey for a long time. These things don't happen that often.
Yeah, it was. We're going to play the entirety broken up into 2 clips because I thought it was excellent. The first one kind of tells you what some of these players went through on Florida, and the way that hockey coaches and players just talk about some of these injuries is pretty Well, it's something to marvel at. And keep in mind, this is a coach that was calling his players on the bench effing bees like 3 months ago when it looked like the season was over.
What does that stand for?
And it seemed like they certainly made a connection through their toughness. And here's Paul Maurice talking about the toughness they displayed throughout this postseason run.
Well, obviously not the way that you wanted this to end, and this team has battled through so many injuries, and then you lose Matthew Tkachuk tonight. We just heard you in the presser talk about his fractured sternum. How hard was it for him to accept that he could not play in this game?
Oh, I mean, there's two pieces to that. The mental part of it not being there killed him, but he knew. One of the things about him, he's an incredibly bright young man. So he can assess his own game. He knew. We all knew that the hope would be that if we could get 5 more days of rest into him, there was a chance for Game 7. But he, he came back. He fractured that and came back and scored the game-tying goal, net front. And then you could see him in the next game trying to find a way to play with a broken bone. And I think he had the 3 best chances we had to score. He had 3 of the 4 for sure. But clearly he also knew that the other 4 guys on the ice needed a guy who could do other things. So he accepted it. He understood.
Well, he's not the only one that battled through this series. Gudas has missed time. Duclair has missed time. Montour has missed time. What can you say about the character of this group? Because they never seem to stop fighting.
Yeah. There's 1,000 stories in that room, Jackie, truly. Aaron Ekblad broke his foot in the Boston series. May have to.
Boston?
In the Boston series. Then he popped his shoulder out twice, passed a concussion test, and tore his oblique. And he drove that puck up the ice in Game 3 and kept it in. We scored, and we scored tonight. So we have some incredible stories. It wasn't actually this series. The vast majority of our injuries came in the Boston series, and they survived it. I mean, I love these guys. I've never seen a group of men. Radko got hurt here, high ankle sprain. That's a 6-week rehab. He missed a period. It was wonderful to watch.
It was wonderful to watch.
Jesus.
It was
the Boston series. That was 3 months ago.
Yeah, those weren't normal injuries. And at times, I'm glad that he highlighted the high point in Ekblad's playoff run, but there were times that he was very frustrating to watch because he absolutely played like he had a broken foot, a torn oblique, had to pop his shoulder in twice, and had to pass a concussion.
Excuses. If you're out there, you're healthy enough to play. Don't want to hear it.
Yeah, Radko missed a period.
Grateful.
But Paul Maurice has been around the game for a very long time, and his reputation it's like a curt one. And to see him grow and develop an affinity for a guy like Matthew Tkachuk, too, a guy that gets under your skin. Remember, he coached Winnipeg. Those were rivals with Calgary, and he didn't have an appreciation for Matthew Tkachuk's game. I don't want it overlooked that Matthew Tkachuk returned to the ice after breaking his sternum, got the game-tying goal in Game 3, and provided a screen that gave this team an overtime winner, its only Stanley Cup win in franchise history. Here's another clip of Paul Maurice from the very same interview on TNT, and you can see the emotion pouring out of him a little bit for a hockey coach anyways.
Well, it's been a hell of a run for the Florida Panthers, even though it didn't end the way that you guys wanted to. You've been around for a minute, Paul. What has this year meant to you as a coach?
You get cynical when you get old, right? Pro sports sometimes makes that happen. The game is wonderful, it's beautiful, but the best part about sports, for all the things that you want your kids to learn when you put them in sports, for all the great character stories, we're all in that room this year from training camp on. We're casual with our words sometimes, but that group of guys loves each other every day. The way they treat each other completely destroyed any cynicism I might have about pro sports. It was absolutely, I don't even necessarily feel that I was a part of it, but it was a wonderful thing to be a spectator of and to see it every day. So it was, at the very least, profession affirming for me.
It was actually cool watching Stugotz's reaction to that as someone that was a parent.
Loser! Not Stugotz. Loser! Second place! Loser!
I didn't say
What a horrible way to end that segment. After we were getting to an emotional place.
Terrible.
No, I didn't mean to do it that way.
I was looking at Stugotz, who I've known for 20 years, and I've seen him coaching lacrosse, and I know how important it is. And I saw his eyes kind of well up a little bit at Paul Maurice describing what it was like coaching this season so late in his career, and you just called him a loser.
Yeah.
That's correct.
With venom and bile.
So unlike you, man.
What I was doing is 20 years of sports radio. I was joking. It was a joke. Obviously, it was moving and eloquent to
Can't you tell we're a little emotional? We have an emotional support dog in the studio. I'm really broken up about this, and it's just not the time for joking.
Fair enough, because
loser.
It was so Canadian.
Right?
It just sounded like a different country, and it's a different sport as well. Like in the middle, where it's like it had a little Fargo in it too. I felt like, yeah.
Well, that comes from the Canadian influence, right? But also, when you play that sound, please. It makes me want to say, say, can you see?
No, play it again. Canada.
Yes.
That's even better.
Peter DeBoer isn't walking through that door.
The thing that I liked best about what was legitimate eloquence and emotion that you don't usually find in that particular man, because he's moved by how tough his players were, a fractured sternum. My favorite part, beyond even the crazy Vegas celebration behind this broken man that you can hear, is just the graphic that quickly goes up on TNT as soon as it starts, which is 0 for 14 on the power play.
Roger Nielsen isn't walking through that door.
R.I.P. Second team in Stanley Cup history to go 0 for in the Stanley Cup final on the power play. They actually had a shorthanded goal and not a power play goal. And I thought there was a really NHL's coverage, TNT's coverage was really good outside of like the graphics occasionally forgetting that there's a power play. Was the interview in the middle of the first period when the Panthers were playing well, growing into the game a little bit, and they asked him just ahead of a power play, Paul, what would you like to see from your power play? He's like, honestly, I want it to look like the 5-on-5 because they played so much better 5-on-5 than they did with a man advantage. It's cliche. I like that the TNT broadcast crew gave Florida their flowers and a lot of credit. It's true. They ran out of gas. They ran out of bodies. And I think where that game got certainly out of hand in that second period was the unrelenting wave of depth from Las Vegas. Well, they just go by Vegas. But they have Stanley Cup winners and captains on that third line. They have
Mike,
so
their
many.
Fourth line is good.
Their captain was a long-term injury reserve player who's got a $10 million salary, and they have the richest team in the sport. They have a very aggressive GM. By the way, I think their most expensive player was out for the year. Vegas is an incredible story, and they're a model franchise. I'm encouraged by what I saw from Florida. Matthew Tkachuk became a superstar in that sport over the course of this series, and he did so with a broken sternum. He had two overtime walk-off winners, one in the 6th longest game in NHL history. He sent them to the Stanley Cup final with 2 seconds left. I'm just so excited for the future for this team, and they actually got some money to spend this offseason, so they'll be back. This is part of the suffering that a lot of Stanley Cup champions have to do.
Chris Cody, what do you have from out in Vegas there with your bad breath?
Well, not everybody. Roy's also been playing through stuff. He's got a fractured clavicle, so everyone's been playing through stuff. And, the players get a lot of credit here, but Roy deserves credit for what he's been playing through, too.
Rick Dudley is walking through that door.
So I came to you there.
26-12, we got outscored. That was another graphic they put up there. 26-12 in the series, we got outscored. Woof.
I just want all of you to go back to how good it all felt. Mike just mentioned the shorthanded goal. That was the first one. And then the second goal of the final where they close out the second period in Vegas. That's as good as it would feel. That's the best it would feel.
The winner in Game 3.
At 2-2. Well, okay.
Swaggy cold game.
You got a win, but you had very little in the way of hope because you realized, I think this one doesn't happen very often on the hope front where – not only do you get the unprecedented thing of the 8 seeds both surprising you, but by the end of it, even the most hopeful of Heat and Panther fans were like, oh, shit, the other side's kind of better than us.
Yeah.
Like, I can see what I'm watching here. Like, yeah, maybe they get a game here and there, but this is going to be really, really impossible to do. This is better than all the other tests. These are better. This is better teams than all the other tests they've had.
I have to check.
Boston was the most difficult of tests.
Well, they came back from 3-1, and they were down a goal with a
right.
minute left on the road at the TD Garden. But I think entering that game, Aiden Hill, who's the 5th goalie Vegas played this season and didn't actually get playing time until midway through that series against Edmonton, he had the highest save percentage in Stanley Cup final history. He was just unbeatable. The series came down to that final minute where Florida is just desperate in Game 4, throwing everything at the goalie. Kachuk's already off the ice because the broken sternum is just too much for him to bear. And they're throwing everything at this guy, and he's like an octopus in net. He was just red hot, and in the history of hockey, hot goalies like that don't cease being hot midway through the series.
Oh,
It was
but wait a
unbeatable.
minute, though. Wait a minute. There was a goalie that Billy and Stugotz
tried to
said
tell you.
should be benched after Game 1. Let's hear the Barkley sound, please.
Mike Keenan isn't walking through that door.
And I'm going to just tell y'all something. Sergei Bababka is the goalie for the Panthers.
Shep messing. I mean, not skip messing. If
And
you're
I'm going to
gonna
just
get
tell
in
y'all
there,
something.
Major fun.
Sergei Bababka is the goalie for the Panthers.
if you're gonna get in there with a shit joke, can you do us the courtesy?
Messing.
A joke just for you. If you're going to do that, can you get the name right? Why is John Reed fixing the lighting behind you guys in the hotel room during the segment? Like, what kind
He's
of
getting it done.
what
You're
kind
gonna
of
blame the guy for
operation are we
working?
running around here?
35 minutes into 35 minutes into the segment.
Roy,
Trapper
final.
LaFleur's not walking through that door.
Sergei Bababka.
Roy.
Roy's look at his face right now, Roy. I smell so bad. This is great.
He looked like that before you got there. It's just really sad.
Oh.
Final thoughts, Roy, on the greatest Panther season of your life in the indignity of a Vegas hotel room. Both of you hungover, no sleep, with some patented bad Cody breath.
Well, you know how to go on the nights, walk from the locker room to the ice. You walk between two mirrors where it looks like it's 100 of them coming on the ice. That's what it felt like in the series. It felt like 100 of them there. That's how deep they were. But yeah, I mean, you heard Paul Maurice. You heard how emotional he got. Those boys got heart. We should be proud of them. I know I am. I know he is.
Aiden Hill should have been MVP.
It's a playoff. It's a playoff award. And
There's a whole playoff.
Yeah,
that Marshall thing that just hurts,
dude.
That
Dale
all
Talon.
hurt.
He was the best player.
I have a group chat that's just a bunch of F words directed at Dale Talon all postseason long because we left a 30-goal scorer unprotected, and he's the greatest Golden Knight ever, and he's just the MVP of the playoffs right now. And I don't know if you guys saw the feature before the game that they showed on TNT, but he was absolutely reveling in doing this to the Panthers.
The Cup is hard to win. It is a precious trophy. Canada values it in an unusual way. Vegas has it now after 5 years of existence.
The alternative was South Florida.
Chris posted a photo. Chris posted a photo on his IG that made me laugh out loud, which is a sign that said, "We've waited 6 long years."
Kevin Deneen isn't walking through that door.
You know how money can't buy you class, right? We were unsurprised by nuclear secrets being in a bathroom of Trump's that had a chandelier. The very fact that Vegas now has the Stanley Cup cheapens it. It's a cheaper trophy
Well,
than
there's
it was.
3 of them, so it's
The 3 of
I
them.
wonder if they gave them one of the B or C cups. You know what I mean? They're like, you're not getting the original.
Canada gets the A cups.
Exactly right.
They can't handle the D cups.
It's Vegas. I'm sure they can.
Pierre-Francois Jackson isn't walking through that door.
Vegas winning after 6 years. Mike saying you got to suffer. He's right. I mean, Vegas got there. They suffered early. They've been to 2.
Look what they did after they missed the playoffs for the first time in their franchise history. They hired Bruce Cassidy, and they went $14 million over the salary cap.
It is. Vegas just bought the trophy the way Tampa was buying the trophy, skirting around the salary cap. And at the end, Florida's just the tires fall off the car. The Zamboni is smoking, and like the fender falls off of it because they've got no money left, no body parts that work left.
Classic banana in the tailpipe situation.
Oh.
Chris, close out our coverage from Vegas. It's been sterling. I should have suggested that you brushed your teeth at some point during the segment. Highlights from Vegas, highlights from time with Roy. What kind of content did you guys get out there, and are we going to get it at any point in the next 6 months?
We did a bunch of content. We may or may not have gotten yelled at by people at the Venetian and then talked to a PR person, and they had us cut it out of the content that you're going to see.
Wow.
But that's a story we can get to on a different day.
Roy said you got married.
Well, we tried to. I wanted to marry a hockey stick. We did a lot.
Oh, you gave it away. It's called a tease, Chris.
I mean, you find out if I married a hockey stick.
All right.
There you go. Attaboy. Kick save in a few.
I wonder what happens.
Thank you, gentlemen. Get home. You were missed. You flew. Flew to Vegas.
I think Roy's staying for a while.
For a 9-3 loss.
Roy took his wife. I mean,
how about Maurice pulling the goalie, like down 9-3 with 6 minutes left in the game? I'm like, hey, we got a shot.
In my personal record book, it's only 6-3 because 3 of the goals were for someone over the salary cap.
Oh.
Attaboy.
Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your coverage. I wish it were better.
Oh.
I love you.
Yes.
Aw.
Looking forward to you getting
Miss you guys. Come back.
Getting back here. I believe that the people watching this right now, the people listening to this, are probably relieved that the Heat and Panther seasons are over, so that we could go back to talking about UFOs and other things. Like, we really did morph into a sports show here over the last 2 months in a way that's dizzying to me, confusing. I feel a bit short-circuited.
People enjoyed it. I mean, you said the numbers are up.
Yeah, well, they wanted more sports, but I kind of have always wanted to do the other things. Mm-hmm. And I believe, look at Roy's face right now, that we're close to harming some of the people who work here, physically harming them, that the last 2 months have been too hard.
Well,
and people
close to? You sent me to the Trump indictment yesterday.
You got wild dogs running around the studio.
I mean,
she's domesticated.
Why are you separating yourself from this, by the way? You're the driving force.
Well, the last 2 months have been an Iditarod race. You guys are the dogs, and I'm the big fat guy in the sleigh.
This is Spo's time, though. I'm telling you. This is what we're going to look back on 20 years from now. This was Spo's championship.
I agree, yes. Spo is watching film. He's making adjustments. Malone is just yelling at his players. Play harder.
More effort.
Play better defense.
More effort.
How about you, coach?
I'm waiting for one time for Mark Jackson or Jeff Van Gundy to tell me that a coach on the other team has done something. All I hear is Spo's zone, Spo starting Kevin Love. I haven't heard anything Mike Malone has done.
What you got, adjustments, Michael Malone?
Setting their ass up, Spo. Spo is setting their ass up. So get ready.
Yeah.
Right now it's coming. Their asses is set.
I'm with you.
All the way up.
Spo is running circles around these other coaches in this playoffs.
Chris, but Mike Malone was really good. Michael, excuse me, he doesn't like Mike.
Jokic? No, he's going to get into foul trouble. He has never faced a team in the playoff like the Heat. You know what I mean? Plus, he has weak ankles. That's another thing.
Altitude. All-time great player. Blah, blah, blah. The Heat are back.
Put some bass in your voice and believe in your boys.
I believe.
You can see that this crowd here is hoisting babies into the air.
The Nuggets are a really good team. They're an overwhelming team. They should be the favorites. They are the favorites. They have everything. But the Heat have Jimmy Butler.
Well, this is the argument Stugotz has been making here for 3 days. Anytime I say, best net rating since the Warriors in 2018, Stugotz's answer is, yeah, but Jimmy.
I don't think they're overwhelming.
I have made fun for a couple of years of the way that Knicks fans, they spill into the streets outside the Mecca when they win a single playoff game. I am putting in that same pantheon a single finals victory with Jeremy Taché yelling, "They are hoisting babies in the air." The phrase hoisting babies in the air to celebrate a single finals victory in a series that would end up 4-1.
And then the camera pans slowly over to the left to see one solitary baby in the ground. In the way. Whoa.
All right, go sit in the penalty box for 2 minutes. I mean, he's having a rough time. He's drinking too much when he's in Miami, too.
They were hoisting babies. It was accurate. It happened. And you know what? A finals win as an 8 seed, I think it was right for fans to celebrate. It was a big deal. It evened the series.
I think it was also his birthday, if I remember correctly. So he was like extra excited and had extra energy that day.
Jeremy, a lot of people have enjoyed you. I mean, you went crazy, and at one point you were making arguments on behalf of why Jimmy would have been better as a part of the Big Three than LeBron. That's a thing that happened.
Don't give away the goods. We got 3 more gas bags.
That's a thing that happened, and then you just fled. You ran at some point here in the last 3 days. You ran into and hid behind some hills.
I think that's a punchline to Gas Bags 3.
I mean, it was you went crazy with "I told you so," and there was a single baby being hoisted. I didn't see multiple babies.
Babies. You can go check the tape, Dan. There's
multiple
babies being hoisted.
I believe that he was there, but again, I just chronicled for you the ways in which he's a fool. So yes, he was there, but I did not see babies being thrown in the air.
All takes pre-Josh Hart diving into Jimmy Butler's ankle were correct. Post that, all right, maybe I overstepped a little bit.
Well, let me ask the question.
He said his ankle was fine, Jeremy.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Of the hockey players, those sounded like more legitimate injuries. It takes a minute to impress Mike Ryan to not say, "Hey, if you're out there, you got to play." And sternums and oblique tears and
broken sternum is gnarly. That's a car accident injury.
Well, I would say high ankle sprains are pretty gnarly as well to play basketball with.
But sternum in that sport, and then to have the game tying goal in game 2 or game 3.
I can't think of the sport where a broken sternum doesn't really affect you.
Yeah, but that sport,
I feel like you can't even play chess with that.
I mean, it was reported. Matthew Tkachuk, after scoring the game-tying goal and being on the ice for the game-winning goal, heroically returning, before Game 4, had to be helped out of bed by his brother, Brady Tkachuk, because he just couldn't muster up the energy. He needed assistance putting on his pads and putting on his jersey. That's like legendary stuff right there. And because they're an 8 seed, I do think it gets remembered. Normally, everyone just laughs at the runner-up, and we do that all-or-nothing type thing. But these 2 teams doing this simultaneously, I think it kind of took away from the massive achievements because we had to divide our attention. Because this is stuff. It's happened once in hockey where the team actually lifted the cup as an 8 seed, but this is the stuff that you talk about in movies. It's not. It only happens in video games. 2 8 seeds simultaneously doing this and running through the teams that they did can't overstate that they beat the greatest regular season hockey team of all time, and they were down 3-1, down a goal with a minute left, and found a way despite everybody getting hurt in that series.
Well, and that's what you guys were talking about earlier, like the idea that it's already time to just reflect on how enjoyable this was. Like the last 2 months, this run, losing in these championships doesn't take away from that. No different than like in 2020 when we needed a welcomed distraction and the Heat went on the run to the bubble finals, which everybody immediately wanted to criticize as, bubble frauds and break this down and break that down. Like for me, I'm at least for the next week, give me a week to be able to just reflect on how fun this has all been.
I would say in general that there has been, and you've heard me say this, a real coarsening, real sharp sandpaper coarsening of sports coverage. Rip this guy, crush this guy, be meaner than the next person to get out in front so you can be Stephen A. Smith, the next Shannon Sharp or Skip Bayless. How do you get attention? Be meaner, be crueler, be more cynical. And in the coarsening of that, I do believe, Stugotz, it all was birthed a long time ago by sports radio. It infected and killed newspapers. It infected and altered sports television and sports television debate.
It gave me life.
And in so doing, there's first place and everyone else is losers. It gave you a living for real. Like, you're legitimate on, yes. I win every year because I can criticize everybody. There's only one winner. It's so much easier to criticize. And what I'm telling you today, in this market, after a lifetime spent making my own career here, the emotion is not a bad one for me. Like, them getting to where they got, I told you at the time, I'm good. Like, this has been, this is the best that this can feel, all of it. And if they end up losing, I'm really grateful that the city I care about and the market I care about, that these people did something totally unexpected, something that at every turn, they made me happy to be wrong every time, because all I was doing every time was, you can't win that. You can't beat Giannis. You can't beat the Boston Bruins. You can't do it. It's not possible. And again, I'm watching my television in disbelief because babies are being hoisted in the air.
Mm-hmm. It's right for the organizations to feel a sense of disappointment. Oh, we almost got there. We came in second. Let's go into the next season motivated, already thinking about the players and the people who came up short in what ultimately was their goal. But for fans, like, I'm not going to remember the way that the Heat role players struggled in the finals. I'll remember Max Strus leading the Heat back against the Bulls to get them to the playoffs. I'll remember Caleb Martin hitting a shot over Giannis and playing crazy against the Celtics. I'll remember Gabe Vincent essentially stepping in and being Tyler Hero and being a go-to scorer for the Heat for a stretch. Like, that's how I'll remember this, because they brought those memories, and we're not going to forget it just because they didn't win this specific
It's the
title.
Expectations. Yeah. That's why you're feeling the way you feel today.
You're right.
It's the unexpected. If these
like
teams had expectations, you'd feel like a loser.
I'd feel like a loser if this were like the President's. I did feel like a loser after they got swept by the Lightning last playoff run, but the 8 seed does mitigate the hurt, and it certainly hurts. On the Heat side, thank God they beat the Celtics, because I'd be in misery. But as long as they got the banter advantage over New York and Boston, that's, if we're going to go out, that's the way I want to go out.
You're going to remember Max Strus's bad shooting.
I'm going to remember 0 for 10.
Yeah.
I remember the 4% from open shots or whatever he shot.
You're never going to forget that. Like, speaking as someone who grew up a Knicks fan and grew up in New York, John Starks' 94 finals, people still talk about that.
Okay, but that was 2 for 18. He went in a game
in
7.
A game.
Yeah. But it wasn't a game
there's
7.
Different expectations between John Starks and Max Strus.
John Starks, undrafted player. John Starks is Max Strus from 2 decades ago.
The expectations for the Knicks with Jordan out of the league was to win a championship.
No, and it was game 7. Yes. They got close. It's not like you were sitting there saying, the way you were through both the Denver and Vegas series, this team that you're up against, they're better than you are. No matter how hopeful you are. The arguments on behalf of the Panthers and Heat were all shitty. They were all the magic toolbox of Spo, grit and heart, right up until you run into a giant who doesn't care that much about his work but is better than everybody.
Dan, I had Nuggets in 6. I always thought the Denver Nuggets were going to win, but I'm telling you right now, if Max Strus hits shots, that's a different series. Wide open shots, like Tony pointed out. It's not that, if he hits shots. Wide open shots. That's the only reason you're out there.
Yeah, they were both 8 seeds, but I mean, I picked Florida to beat Boston in the first round, and I thought that Florida was playing better hockey. What the Heat did in beating Milwaukee was just, That was who could have seen that coming? They were overwhelming underdogs.
Who's the bigger underdog in their series? Panthers or Heat?
In the finals?
Yeah.
The Heat.
You think they were?
No. I'm telling you from the price.
They were.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Nuggets were minus 360, and Vegas was minus 140 entering that season, courtesy of our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook.
The biggest dog that the Heat was against the Bucks.
Yes.
They were plus 1,200. I will say again, I really would have enjoyed the finals if it had been Milwaukee against Denver.
All right, everybody, we're on break until 10:15.